Welcome to the Effective E-Commerce Podcast. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about Google Shopping ads, also known as product listing ads, also known as PLAs. So we're going to do a basic tutorial over everything. And just like with AdWords, I think it's hard to convey all the subtleties of this over a podcast. It's much easier to do it over video where I have a screen share. So I do have on my YouTube channel, the Effective E-Commerce YouTube channel, I do have a complete tutorial about product listing ads. Or at least if I don't have it yet at the time of this recording, I will have it up pretty soon. So you can go to my YouTube channel to see a complete walkthrough tutorial on that. But I'm going to do my best job on this podcast to explain as much as I can about product listing ads, Google Shopping ads, whatever you want to call them. For the point of this podcast, I'm going to call them product listing ads or PLAs. So what are PLAs, you might be wondering? Well, I've talked about it in previous episodes, but just for a quick refresher course, if you search something in Google, I'm going to use the example of Red Blender because I've been using Red Dance Pants way too much, and I'm just going to use Red Blender for right now at least. If you search Red Blender in Google, what happens is you get a bunch of different results. You get a bunch of different things that show up. You get a bunch of text results that'll take you to websites. You get a bunch of paid AdWords text results that'll also take you to websites. But at the top, if you look, there are images of red blenders, and they have a price underneath them. Those are product listing ads. And the reason they're so powerful is because it shows the searcher, the person doing the searching, I guess it'd be the searchee or the searcher. The person doing the searchee, it shows them an image of what the product's going to look like and the price. So if someone is going to click on your ad, that's because they like the image, they like the product itself, and they're okay with the price. So this is powerful. This is a very powerful tool because of exactly what I just said. It shows buying intent too. If someone's looking for an article, they're not going to click on the picture with the price on it because they know that it's not going to be an article. That link's going to take them to a product to purchase. So that's why product listing ads are great. So one of the negative parts of product listing ads, at least at the time of this recording, is you don't get to pick which search terms your ads show up for. You get to tell Google, you get to put an image into Google, you get to give them a title of your product, and you get to give them a link to your product page. So what Google does is what Google does best at that point. They look at your product page, they look at the product title, and they try to figure out what search queries best match your product. And it depends on how much you pay them. So if you are only bidding 10 cents, they're not going to show your product unless they're pretty convinced someone's going to click on it. If you bid $1, they'll show it for more search queries, and it's more likely to show up for Red Blender, for instance. So if you have a Red Blender product, let's say a 3-speed Red Blender, and you're only bidding 50 cents, it may only come up, your product may only come up if someone types in exactly 3-speed Red Blender. Now, if you're bidding $1, it might come up anytime someone searches Red Blender. If you're bidding $2, it might come up anytime someone searches anything including Crimson Blender. And the reason is because Google plays the odds, and they know that they're going to get paid anytime someone clicks on your ad. So they're going to try to figure out the probability that someone's going to click on your ad and how much money they're going to make versus other people. I go into a lot of details about this, but basically the higher your bid, the more your ad's going to get shown, at least up to a certain extent. But at the same time, the counterbalance to that is the less relevant the search terms may be. So you got to be careful with how you do that. So a very important thing, probably the most important thing about product listing ads is adding negative keywords. So I might say, let's say use the Red Blender again as an example. I have a Red Blender for sale, and it's got a matte finish, not a metallic finish. So I would have metallic be a negative keyword, because if someone's searching for a metallic Red Blender, they're not going to want my product because my product isn't metallic. If someone's searching for a 5-speed, that might be another negative keyword, 5-speed, because mine's only a 3-speed. And you'd go down the list, just like I talked about in the last episode, and I'll maybe talk a little bit about how to find negative keywords, but for the most part, I'm going to make you listen to last week's episode, or the last episode I did about AdWords, but you're going to want to add as many negative keywords as you can possibly think of. There's no downside to adding more negative keywords. Now, an important thing to note that I didn't talk about in the last episode is there's broad match negative keywords. broad match negative keywords, phrase match negative keywords, and exact match negative keywords. And I don't use exact match negative keywords that often for regular AdWords, but I use them all the time for product listing ads. Why? Because I'll notice, for instance, that people will search, I'm trying to think of a good example here. Maybe with my dance pants, for instance, people will search things like yoga dance pants. And I notice over and over again, if someone searches for yoga dance pants, they don't buy. Or maybe just even yoga pants. Okay, so that's probably a better example. Yoga pants. And I'll say, hey, I don't want the word yoga to be a negative keyword, and I don't want the word pants to be a negative keyword. But when those two things are combined, don't show my dance pants, because someone might type in yoga dance pants and they're likely to purchase, or someone might type in something else related. But for whatever reason, if they put both the word yoga and pants, they don't buy. So I'm hoping that makes sense. Just to kind of reiterate it in a different way, you can say a negative keyword that would be a broad match, which would be anytime this word shows up, period, don't show my ad. You can show it or you can have a negative keyword that's a phrase match, saying anytime this phrase. So the example of a phrase negative keyword match might be, let's go use yoga pants again. If the phrase yoga pants shows up, don't show my ad, period. And then exact match would say, if exactly yoga pants is what people are searching for, don't show my ad. So this probably would be easier to explain in video, to be quite honest, but I'm hoping you get kind of the idea there. So figure out what people are searching for, and if you see people are searching over and over again for the same thing and not buying, add that either as a broad negative keyword match or a phrase or an exact match. And it's really, it's up to you on how you do it. I think, you know what, I have a better example. The example I'll use is, once again, going back to the red dance pants. If I have the product listing ad for a pair of red dance pants, I noticed, for instance, people would search red pants and my ad would come up and they'd click on it and they wouldn't like it because my pants aren't normal pants, they're dance pants. So I don't want to make the negative keyword red because someone might type in red dance pants. I don't want to make the negative keyword pants because someone might type in red dance pants. But if someone types in exactly red pants, my product doesn't make sense. So hopefully that makes it make sense a little bit more. So I'd take that phrase, red pants, or take that as an exact match and create a negative, either a negative phrase or a negative keyword exact match out of that. Still fairly complicated, but I'm hoping it's making a little bit more sense there. So the basic integrations, you're going to need to set up AdWords to run Google Shopping ads or product listing ads. You're going to want to set up analytics, and you're going to need to set up Webmaster Tools. All those are pretty easy to set up. There's another one too, trying to remember the name of it, the Merchant Center. You need to set up Google Merchant Center as well. All easy to do. I have a tutorial video on how to do this. Obviously, if you haven't yet, you can get my e-commerce success pack. I've got a checklist for setting up AdWords and product listing ads, and that has links to different videos going step by step on how to do all this stuff. It'd be way too complicated to try to explain this over audio, but you need to set up AdWords, you need to set up analytics, you need to you should set up Webmaster Tools, and you need to set up the Google Merchant Center. All very easy to do. You need to set up your feed, and this is basically giving the data to Google in the Google Merchant Center on what products you want to have available for the product listing ads. So the feed is very simply, you could set it up either as a CSV file, which is basically an Excel file. The CSV stands for comma separated values file, basically an Excel file, and they give you templates and they show you how to do this. Or you can do it automatically if you have Shopify, which is one of the reasons I recommend Shopify. It does have so many integrations with so many things, make things a lot easier. But there are benefits to setting it up in a more manual fashion. So let's use my dance pants as an example. If I were to set it up automatically using Shopify's integration, it would just have one product. It would just be dance pants. But I don't want that. I want one product for dance pants. I want one product for red dance pants, one product for blue dance pants, one product for yellow dance pants. All the different options, all the different search terms that someone might come up with, I want a separate product for. Same thing with Performance Nut Butter potentially. Now, Performance Nut Butter, I may just want one product in the product listing ads, or I might want a separate one where I really emphasize the fact that it has macadamia nut butter, one where I emphasize the fact that it has coconut butter, one where I emphasize the fact that it's a keto snack. And the way I would do this is the different titles for the product and different images. I could do different images for each different one. So for the red dance pants, I'd have a pair of red dance pants. For the blue, I'd have a pair of blue dance pants. Same thing with the performance nut butter. Maybe I use one where the title says performance nut butter dash keto snack, and I have a stamp that says keto approved on it. Something like that. So if you do it automated, it's a lot easier, but you don't have as much ability to change things. So I generally recommend just setting it up manually. If you want to just get your feet wet and get started with it, go ahead and use the automated thing. So naming campaigns, there's a bunch of different ways to do this. I feel like I'm going to keep saying this, but it's so much easier to show this in video. Just check out my YouTube channel if you're serious about this. The way that I've generally done it is every product has its own campaign, and then each variation of that product has a different ad group. So it might be dance pants colors as a campaign, then one ad group for blue dance pants, one ad group for yellow dance pants, so on and so on. So that is, I think, a lot of it. So let me see what else I got here. Basically, you're going to use it the same way you would with AdWords. You're going to see how much money you're spending, see what the return on investment is, and if you're spending more money than you're making, lower your bid. If you're spending less money than you're making, raise the bid, and figure out what your middle ground is. Obviously, you do want to make a profit, but remember, you have a lifetime value to your customer. Another thing that I like to do personally is I like to figure out how much money my website is making and divide the number of web page visits I get by that. So let's say I was making $100 and I get 100 web page visits. Each web page visit is worth $1 on average. If I was getting 1,000 web page visits and making $100, each web page visit would be worth 10 cents. And this just gives you a rough idea of how much each web page visit is worth. It's not a perfect number, but in the early days, it helps you figure out whether or not an ad will potentially eventually be profitable. So my number is something like 40 cents per, not necessarily just per web page visit, but the other metric that I think is very important is average pages per session. So on average, every time someone comes to my website, let me think of the easiest way to explain this. They visit 3 web pages. If it's cold traffic, they're going to visit less than 3 pages. Meaning, like, if they're not ready to buy, they might visit 1 page and they might bounce. If they're really interested, they're going to visit more pages. So you want to look at that number there. And I'm forgetting the exact name. Let me see if I have it in my notes. But yeah, the average page views. So if you have a product that's running, you have a PLA that's running, and it's getting 5 page views on average. So let's say it's had 100 people come to your website, and on average, it's getting 5 page. They're looking at 5 different pages of your website. Then that's probably a pretty good indicator that it's a product that ad's eventually going to work, and you're going to want to keep it going. Now, if they're only looking at 1 or 2 pages and bouncing right away, it's probably not going to work. Obviously, the biggest tell is whether or not it's profitable. That's the real indicator, but in the early days, it's hard to tell that. So I use that number for myself. So if I knew on average, just to make the numbers a little bit more tangible, if I knew on average I made $100 profit and I had 100 visitors, that means every visitor is worth $1. And on average, those visitors visit 4 pages. That means every page that they visit on my site is worth 25 cents. And if I get someone coming from a product listing ad, to my website, and on average they're visiting 3 sites, I'd be willing to pay 75 cents. So 25 cents times 3. And I can explain this a lot easier in video, but basically figure out how much each page that someone goes on your website is worth and calculate that and figure out whether or not your product listing ads are profitable. If you run them for a long time, and even if they look like they're profitable based on page views, but they're not profitable based on amount of money that they're actually spending on your store, obviously shut them down, and vice versa. You know, if you're running it for a long time, and even though they're not visiting a lot of pages, but they're purchasing right away, then sure, of course, keep it going. So another tip here, and there's a lot of just random scattered information. I'm about to go on a trip to Thailand. It's Thanksgiving. This is the last podcast I'm recording, so this isn't coming out quite as well as I would like. I may come back eventually and do another episode following up. But I'm just going to keep going with the scattered amount of information. I'm hoping this is helpful to at least somebody out there. You want to separate your mobile campaigns from your desktop campaigns. And you can do this very simply. I have a video again showing this, but you can do this very simply by creating two different campaigns. One that would be mobile, one that would be desktop. Now, you're not allowed to turn off mobile, but what you can do is you can do mobile adjusted bid. Actually, you can turn off mobile. You can't turn off desktop. So you can do mobile adjusted bid. So you can say, all right, on the desktop only one, the mobile adjusted bid is negative 100%. So that means if you're bidding $1, you're bidding $0 for the mobile adjusted bid. Now on the mobile only campaign, which is a little bit harder to do, you can do it the opposite way. And you can say, all right, I'll bid $1 on desktop, or I'll bid 25 cents on desktop, but I'll bid 300% on mobile, which would make it so you're bidding $1 on mobile. So the 25 cents that you're bidding on desktop will never, Google will never show your ad on desktop because you're bidding too low. So once again, you have two different campaigns for Red Dance Shorts. One that is desktop Red Dance Shorts or Red Dance Pants. One that's desktop Red Dance Pants where you're bidding $1 for desktop and you have a mobile adjusted bid of negative 100%, which means you're bidding $0 for mobile. So that's the first one. For the second one, it's the mobile Red Dance Pants where you're bidding 25 cents for desktop and you're doing a mobile adjusted bid of plus 300%, so you're bidding $1. Google's not likely to show the 25 cent bid because, well, why would it? In the other campaign, you're bidding for $1. And they're likely to show the mobile adjusted bid where you're actually effectively bidding for $1. So you can pretty easily do that. And the reason is people act differently on mobile than they do on desktop, and you want to be able to calculate that. You want to be able to adjust for that. So after all of this, let's say you get your product listing ads really dialed in. There's two other things that I'd recommend you doing. Every so often, it's up to you what interval you want to do this. Go through and review your ads. Just like with regular text ads, add more negative keywords and adjust your bids. Very simple. Add more negative keywords, adjust your bids. That's really all you can do with product listing ads. The other thing I'd recommend is replicating them in Bing ads. And I didn't talk about this in the last episode, but you should replicate your Google AdWords, replicate it in Bing ads, and they'll probably do just as well in Bing because it's basically the same thing. It's basically a search engine, and it works in much the same way. So there's no reason to think that it'll run that much different. It'll get less traffic because less people use Bing than they use Google. But overall, you might as well replicate it. So I hope this was helpful. Like I said, it did not come out quite like I would like it to, but I am working on a complete AdWords and product listing course. It will be out in a few months. So if you want to hear about that, you can go to effectiveecommerce.com/AdWords. Or by the time the course comes out, I'll replace that link. I'll do a 301 redirect to the actual course page. So that's effectiveecommerce.com/AdWords. And it's going to be an AdWords and product listing course. Basically, I'm going to put everything I know about that, including showing you some behind the scenes secrets of my company, including the real bids that I use and how I go about reviewing my campaigns. And I'll show you it live because it's hard to explain how to review campaigns unless I have a screen share that I can show you. And I don't want to open this information up to the public. I definitely need to put it behind a paywall because otherwise my competitors are just going to steal all my bids. So that is the product listing and AdWords course. I also have a free checklist for starting your AdWords and starting your product listing ads. You go to effectiveecommerce.com, and if you find the success pack, it's on the top, or effectiveecommerce.com/success pack. You can sign up to get the free success pack, and that'll have the checklist for starting your AdWords and product listing ads. That's pretty much it for this episode. Thank you again for listening. And every Monday and Thursday, got new episodes coming out. All the great stuff, everything I know about e-commerce for the most part is going to be in these podcasts. So I hope you enjoy this and have a great rest of your week.